Hello, my name is Thomas Edison. I was born on February 11th, 1847, to my parents, Samuel and Nancy Edison. I was the youngest of my siblings, and the last of the 7 children they had together. My father was an exiled politician from Canada, and my mother was a teacher. In 1854, my family moved from Milan, Ohio, where I was born, to Port Huron, Michigan. I didn't attend a formal school for very long, but my mother worked very hard to teach me to read, write, and use basic math. I was too energetic and difficult for my teacher to handle, but my mother, an accomplished teacher herself, decided she could teach me. Outside of my mother's instruction, I explored topics I found very interesting and began to teach myself. This instilled a passion for learning and knowledge that would serve me well throughout my life. When I was 12 years old, I began to sell newspapers on the Grand Trunk Railroad. This proved to be a valuable opportunity for me, as I began to sell my own newspaper, the Grand Trunk Herald, and I was able to conduct chemical experiments in one of the train cars. Unfortunately, one of the experiments went wrong and caused a fire. This led to me being removed from the railroad, but it opened another opportunity for me. I happened to be in the right place at the right time and was able to save a 3-year-old from being crushed by a train. The child's father thanked me by teaching me how to operate a telegraph, and by the time I was 15 I had learned enough to be a telegraph operator. I traveled around the Midwest working as an operator to fill in for those who had left to serve in the Civil War. During this time, I was able to continue my studies and educate myself. When I was 19, I moved to Louisville, Kentucky to work for the Associated Press. Being on the night shift allowed me to read and experiment. In 1868 I moved to Boston and began to work for the Western Union Company. Boston was the hub for science and culture, and I took full advantage of this. I invented an electronic voting recorder to help tally votes. This invention wasn't a huge success, as legislators wanted time to change the minds of others. Just a year later I moved from Boston to New York City, where I created the Universal Stock Printer. This device would synchronize several stock ticker transactions. The Gold and Stock Telegraph Company bought the rights to my invention for $40,000. This enabled me to begin inventing full-time, and in 1876 I moved my operations to Menlo Park, New Jersey. Here I worked with several other inventors to create. My most famous invention is the light bulb. The creation of the light bulb was difficult and time-consuming. I used thousands of different materials in order to allow the light bulb to burn for longer than a few hours. Finally, I found the answer: carbonized cotton thread filament. This burned for 15 hours. While the light bulb used today is like the model I invented, it would be false to say that I completely invented the light bulb. Many of my inventions had been thought of before and were not my original ideas. I did, in fact, improve these inventions greatly. Since I streamlined and improved how these machines operated, the media credits me as the inventor. It is also important to note that I did not work alone. The team that worked for me did most of the hands-on work, conducting the experiments, while I came up with ideas to improve devices. In these cases, I was more of a businessman than an inventor. I handled patents, publicized the research and discoveries my team accomplished, and created partnerships with larger companies. While I personally didn't build such devices, I played an important part in the creation and marketing of new products. The light bulb took the public by storm and created a lot of controversies. I developed the direct current, which traveled in one direction constantly, and was referred to as DC. This was the standard current used in America, but it did not work well for extremely high or low voltages. Nikola Tesla proposed a solution called the alternating current, or AC. This current would change direction a certain number of times in a second. AC was able to be converted to different voltages with the use of a transformer. This put Tesla and me into a rivalry, where we both did our best to convince the public our system was better. My methods were drastic, and I am not entirely proud of the things I did. To convince people that AC was more dangerous than DC, I would have animals publicly electrocuted by AC currents. When the Chicago World's Fair used AC current instead of DC current, the war of the currents had been won, and I was not the victor. Even with our rivalry, I did not hate Tesla. I thought he was an intelligent man and respected his work, though I would be the last person to tell the public that. Throughout my life, I received 1,093 patents in the United States. Even though inventing was a huge part of my life, I accomplished many things outside of that world. In 1871, I married Mary Stilwell, who worked in my business. We were married for 13 years and had 3 children together. Out of my 3 children, Marion, Thomas, and William became an inventor himself. Mary passed away in 1884 from what is believed to have been a brain tumor. 2 years after she passed, I married a woman who is 19 years younger than me, named Mina Miller. When I was a child, I suffered from scarlet fever, which caused ear infections. Included with the fire I started on the train car, I became partially deaf. Even with this disability, I was able to be a telegraph operator, since Morse code was printed on paper. When technology started to improve and operators would have to read messages with clicks, I had to find a different line of work. But this was the only time my deafness affected my work. As time went on, my hearing decreased, and when I became old, I lost almost all my hearing. I passed away in West Orange, New Jersey at the age of 84. After battling diabetes, I passed away from complications on October 18, 1931. While I am a renowned inventor and an inspiration for success, I am also remembered for my temper and trouble socializing. The story of my life includes highs and lows, and it is important to remember the good as well as the bad. I am so grateful for the ways I was able to impact the world, and I'm proud to see how my inventions are still being used today.